how to get the most out of a book that you are reading. Hey there, it's Brian from Hope Books. I read a ton of books, and I discovered a secret way for you to get more out of the books that you're reading. And actually, you know what? I'm going to change it. I'm not going to say get more out of the books you're reading, but talk about how to implement the books, because every book has a foundational concept. Now, of course, I'm not talking about a fiction novel. I'm talking about a memoir, self-help, personal development, spiritual, a faith-based book, some sort of book that's about making your life better. Okay. So what we teach in Hope Books is that your book has a foundational framework. Generally, that's the transformational tale from the prison to the promised land, following the path. So any book that you read that's in the nonfiction narrative space, specifically something about getting better in your life, it has a framework. Okay. There's something that the author is trying to convey to the reader. But the format of a traditionally published book, they need to do it in about 55 to 80,000 words. Do you need to read every single word in order to get the meat of the framework? Of course not. So in this strategy I'm going to teach you here, this is how to actually implement a book into your life instead of just listening passively to a book. Okay. The first concept is you want to figure out what the framework is of the book. Now, most authors do a good job of putting the framework right in the table of contents. They put it in the table of contents. So always start, okay, let's say you have a book and you're like, this is the book that I really want to inject into my life. Like, I want to take this book on habits, or this book on forgiveness, or this book on leadership, or this book on morning routines, whatever it happens to be. You first start with a discovery, an exploration of the foundational framework. Okay. So let's say Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning as an example. Well, he has this framework that he teaches called Savers, Savers, and it's what he recommends you do every single morning. Now, what's really cool is that's already covered in the table of contents. So start in the table of contents. Open the book, go to the table of contents and look at it and go, do I see the foundational framework in the table of contents? Okay, that's the first place to look for it. Then what you do is you have a journal and a pen and you write down the framework, Savers. You like literally write down the framework and what the framework means. And by doing that, you're creating in the educational world, I'm a doctorate in educational technology, educational world, we call this scaffolding. You are scaffolding the learning. You're saying, this is the framework that I want to learn. And you're basically saying, okay, these are like the floors of the house that I'm trying to build, or these are the rungs in the ladder that I'm trying to scale. So start with the scaffolding, start with the foundational framework. Now, if you can't find it in the table of contents because, the editor wanted to make the chapter titles more engaging or something like that, go to the introduction and go to the conclusion. Start at the beginning and the end. Skip all the other stuff in the middle, because it's the old adage of, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you what I told you. Okay. So the introduction and the conclusion will have the foundational framework in there. The introduction will be feature based. It will say, in this book, you will discover da 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 da. So it's going to explain what the framework is. And then at the end, the conclusion is going to say, now you have the framework and it is this. Usually there's some sort of a review of the framework at the end. Okay. So now we've got the framework. That's the first step. Then what I want to do is I want to smoke it. Like you're making a good rack of ribs on the Traeger smoker grill. You don't cook it high and fast. You cook it low and slow, crock pot method, right? Low and slow. So that's what you want to do with the book. So what I would recommend is you get the audiobook and you listen to it and you make it the soundtrack of your life for probably a week or 2 or 3. It's like the only thing you listen to is the book. Like literally get it on Audible, press play in your car, and that's all you're listening to. And the reality is audiobooks, I think we really kind of half listen to audiobooks. We listen to audiobook as we're driving, we're listening to audiobook as we're shopping, we're listening to audiobook as we're working out. So just let it simmer, let it bake, let it smoke for a week or two. And what will happen is you'll start to hear the same story over and over again. Repetition is the mother of skill. You'll hear the story, then you'll hear it again, then you'll hear it again. And your brain is going to remember where you were when you heard that story. So you're going to start to have these synaptic connections of location and place. So for example, the book I'm going through right now, The Science of Scaling by Benjamin Hardy, he talks about JFK and JFK, the moonshot. And I remember the first time I heard that story where I was driving. The second time I heard that story, I was actually up in our cabin in Canada. And so I remember like, oh, that's where I heard that story. And then the third time I heard that story, I was at the grocery store. And the fourth time I heard the story. And so as I think about that story, I have all these synaptic connections to real experiences in my life. And it's building a stronger connection. Okay. So step number one, figure out the foundational framework first. Write it down. Then you're like that. My mission is to really understand the framework. Step number two is bake, simmer, smoke in the content. Listen to that content over and over and over again. I think I listened to the audiobook 4 or 5 times. And then, ready for this? This is like the genius right here. You ready for the genius? This is it right here. After all that, then I got the physical book. And what I did with the physical book is I skimmed it. I started flipping through the pages and I go, oh, I already know that story. Oh, I remember that. Oh, that quote. And there's something, seeing it visually after hearing it audibly, that just took it to the next level for me. I was like, oh. And what was really cool is seeing the charts and the graphs in the book after I'd already kind of pictured it in my mind. Because now we have some cognitive dissonance. We have in our brain, we think it's one way, but then we see it and we go, oh. And that conflict in your mind causes you to go even deeper in the way that you are remembering the content and the way that you're applying the content. So skim through it and look at the visuals, look at the quotes, look at the way the book's structured. You're going to get more familiar with the content, and you'll have even better scaffolding for it. And then finally, what I would recommend you do is literally go through every single page, every single word with a pen. And what I do is I put a little line on every page and I read the entire book. I'm not skipping any parts. This is the one that takes the longest amount of time. This is where most people start, is they start by reading a book. They read the first couple chapters and they're like, oh, I got something else that's more interesting. But when you decide to inject the content of the book into your life, this process is going to work for you, and the book will work in your life. Like, you will continue to go back to that content. There's several books like that have completely changed my life because I followed this kind of process. I actually believe that you can change your life with maybe 5 to 8 core books. These are the books that you go to over and over and over again. Instead of reading 80, just figure out where your 8 are and say, I'm going to inject these books into my life. And I've done that. Every quarter, I'll look at, these are, I bought 40 books, but these are the 2 or 3 that I'm going to go really deep this year, and I'm going to really inject in my life. And this is the process to follow. First, understand the framework. Second, bathe in the audiobook. Third, look at that physical book. And fourth, really go line by line, taking notes as you go, and you'll really implement this into your life. Now, if you want to go even deeper, bonus number 5 is to teach it. Teach it to your team, teach it on Facebook, teach it on YouTube, lead a class that's going through the chapters of the book, and you'll learn it even more. I hope that encourages you to make the most of every opportunity that you have.